If this video has appeared before you, it's because God has a message for you. Hello, dear friend. Today, I want to speak directly to your heart. If you're watching this video right now, it's not a coincidence. God has a special message for you. A message that can change your life, bring you peace, hope, and clarity in the midst of your worries. Before we continue, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss a single word of the messages God wants to reveal to you, full of faith and light. Maybe you're going through moments of doubt, fear, or sadness. And right now, you need to hear this. God has not abandoned you. He is with you every step of your journey. This video isn't just a story. It's a seed of hope that can blossom in your life if you let it into your heart. Stay until the end, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see your problems, your dreams, and your faith. God wants to speak to you today, and I promise that what you're about to discover will make you feel His love in a deep, transformative way. Imagine someone just like you or me, facing dark days when it feels like everything is against them. This person's name is Mark, a man who had lost all hope. His problems were overwhelming. His job wasn't enough, debt was crushing him, and loneliness seemed to wrap around him day after day. One day, while wandering without direction, he stopped in front of a small, old church. He felt an inexplicable urge to go inside. There, sitting on a pew, he opened his Bible, and his eyes landed on these words. "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Isaiah 41 verse 10. In that moment, something changed within Mark. He felt a warmth in his heart, a quiet certainty that God was hearing his tears. That feeling wasn't just hope. It was the promise that his life could be transformed if he trusted in Him. And so, in the midst of his despair, Mark decided to give his worries to God. A small but courageous step that would mark the beginning of a change he never imagined. After that day at the church, Mark began to live differently. It wasn't an immediate or magical change, but a gradual one, step by step, day by day. He started praying every morning, even though he didn't always find the right words. Sometimes he would simply say, "Lord, help me take one more step today." Little by little, small signs began to appear. A neighbor greeted him with a smile he hadn't seen in months. A stranger offered help when he needed it most, and his heart began to feel a peace he couldn't explain. It was as if every difficult situation was aligning to teach him something. God's faithfulness shows itself even in the smallest details of life. But the most surprising moment came on a rainy afternoon. Mark lost his wallet with all his money, and for a moment, fear and despair returned with full force. Yet, instead of falling into hopelessness, he remembered the words he had read in Isaiah 41 verse 10. He closed his eyes and whispered, "God, I trust you. I know you are in control." When he opened his eyes, he saw someone looking for him. A person who had found his wallet had returned it intact. It was a simple moment, but for Mark, it was a tangible miracle. God was present, guiding every step, every decision, and every circumstance, even when he couldn't see it. From that moment on, something changed within him. He realized that faith isn't just about asking. It's about trusting that God is at work even when we don't understand how. Each passing day, Mark felt lighter, filled with more hope, and his heart began to open to helping others. What had once been despair was now turning into compassion and service. His life became an example of what happens when we let God guide our steps. Problems don't disappear instantly, but our hearts find peace, clarity, and strength to keep moving forward. Over time, Mark realized something amazing. His faith wasn't just transforming his own life. it was also touching the lives of those around him. He began sharing his story with friends, family, and even strangers, always reminding them that God listens and that he never abandons those who trust him. One day at work, a colleague named Laura was on the verge of tears. Her husband had lost his job, and their financial situation was desperate. Mark approached her, and remembering how God had worked in his own life, he spoke calmly and with conviction. God has a plan for you even if you can't see it right now. Trust him and let him guide your steps. You are not alone. Laura looked at him in disbelief but decided to follow his advice. Slowly, unexpected things began to happen. Job opportunities appeared, family members offered support, and above all, a sense of peace that couldn't be explained by logic alone. For her, and for everyone witnessing the change, it became clear that God can use even broken hearts to reveal his power and love. Mark understood that his experience wasn't meant just for him. God had prepared him to be a channel of hope. Every small act of kindness, every word of encouragement, was a seed that God helped grow in other hearts. And this is where I want you to pause and reflect. If you're watching this video today, God also wants to use your story to inspire someone else. You may not realize it, but your experiences, your victories, and even your struggles can be a light for someone walking through darkness. Mark realized that true transformation isn't just about receiving blessings. It's about letting God's grace flow through us to others. And the more he trusted, the more visible and invisible miracles began to happen around him. Even though Mark's life was changing, God knew his faith still needed to be tested. One day, he received news that shook his world. His mother, whom he loved deeply, was gravely ill. The doctors offered little hope, and for a moment, fear and sadness threatened to overwhelm his heart. But instead of giving in, Mark remembered everything he had learned about God's faithfulness. He knelt in prayer, tears in his eyes, and said, "Lord, you are my refuge. I trust your plan, even when I don't understand it. Do your will, and give me the strength to keep going." That night, something shifted within him. The uncertainty didn't disappear, but a deep peace filled his heart, the assurance that God was working beyond what he could see. Mark chose to stay by his mother's side with love, patience, and faith, letting every moment be guided by hope in God's power. Days later, the doctors announced something unexpected. His mother's health began to improve slowly, and although her recovery was difficult, the family experienced something even greater than a physical miracle. Mark's faith became an anchor of strength for everyone around him. Mark realized that sometimes God allows trials to strengthen our spirit and show his love in tangible ways. Every tear, every prayer, every act of surrender is noticed and used by him to teach us to trust, even when everything seems lost. Today, if you are watching this video, you may be facing your own trial. Remember Mark's words. God is with you in the darkness, and his light can appear at the most unexpected moment. Don't lose faith, because miracles begin in the hearts that trust and persevere. Over time, Mark noticed something extraordinary. His life was no longer defined by worries, but by the peace and hope that come from trusting God. His heart, once weighed down by fear and anxiety, was now filled with gratitude and love. Every challenge became an opportunity to see God's hand at work in his life. The most beautiful part was how his example began to impact those around him. Friends, family, and co-workers started coming to him for advice and spiritual support. Mark didn't offer magical solutions. He shared his testimony of faith, showing that true strength comes from trusting God, even when we don't understand the paths he leads us on. One day, during a community gathering, Mark shared his story in front of a group of people. He spoke of his despair, his mistakes, and how God had lifted him up, step by step. As he shared his experience, many began to cry, not just out of emotion, but because they realized they too could find hope amid their own struggles. In that moment, Mark understood something profound. God had not only transformed him, but had called him to be a beacon of light for others. Every prayer, every act of trust, and every moment of surrender became a spark igniting faith in other hearts. Today, if you are watching this video, there's something important you need to know. God has a message for you too. You might be going through a difficult time, feeling like nothing has a solution, but the message is clear. You are not alone, and there is a purpose behind every trial you face. Trust, pray, and open your heart, because what seems impossible to the world is possible with God. Always remember, your life can become a testimony and a blessing for others, just like Mark's did. All it takes is one step of faith and letting God guide your steps. After everything he had been through, Mark realized that faith isn't a fleeting feeling. It's a daily choice. It's not about waiting for problems to disappear, but about trusting that God is at work even in the midst of them. Every prayer, every act of kindness, and every moment of surrender is a step toward transformation. One day, while walking through the park, he noticed a young man sitting alone, head down, burdened by a heavy heart. Gently, Mark approached him and asked, "Are you okay? Because I want to share something that changed my life forever." The young man looked up, and Mark began to share his story. The despair that had once trapped him, the small signs God had placed along his path, and how every trial became an opportunity to trust him more. By the time Mark finished, the young man wasn't just moved. He felt a spark of hope ignite within him. In that moment, Mark understood that God always has a message for us, and sometimes it comes through someone who has walked through the same darkness. Today, this message is for you too. If you're watching this video, God wants to speak to your heart. Maybe you need strength, clarity, comfort, or a sign that everything will be okay. Don't ignore this moment. Pray, open your heart, and let His light transform your life. And before you continue watching other videos, I want to invite you to something important. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell, because God can use every message we share to touch your life and the lives of those you love. Your faith can be renewed today, and your life can become a testimony of hope. Mark paused for a moment, took a deep breath, and looked around. Every step, every tear, every prayer had brought him here, and he realized something he wanted to share with everyone. God never abandons us, even when we feel completely alone. If you're watching this video, know this is no coincidence. This message reached you because God has something to tell you today. Trust Him, persevere, and let your faith be stronger than any fear or uncertainty. He can turn your darkest moments into testimonies of hope and blessing. Remember, every trial is an opportunity to draw closer to God, and every act of faith has a greater purpose than you can imagine. Your life can be a beacon of light to others, just like Mark's, if you choose to open your heart and let God work. Before we finish, I want to leave you with something important. Don't just watch this video and move on with your day. Let this message change your life today. Pray, trust, and share this hope with someone who needs it. Let your faith become action. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss more messages from God that can touch your heart and the hearts of those you love. Always remember, God has a plan for you, and this is just the beginning of something wonderful. Open your heart, trust Him, and let His light guide every step of your life.